You are listening to The Happy Gynecologist with your host, Amanda Miles, MD. Hey, bees, how are ya? How's December treating ya? Are you guys delivering some of the corona babies like me? Are you loving that end of the year? I got to get my surgery before January surge that we always have to deal with. I think it's a little different this year with all the COVID. And as I'm recording this, I'm hoping that maybe one of you bees out there is getting your vaccine today. I'm recording this a few days before it'll air, and all the vaccines were just shipped out yesterday evening, I think. So hopefully some of you guys are going to get lucky and get it this week. If not, hopefully very soon. I've got my fingers crossed as well. So today we are going to be talking about something that us in medicine tend to do a lot. And that is that we put our lives on hold so that we can achieve that next big thing, right? We are achievers. It's what we do. We strive to get that A+. We want to get better. So we study and we work hard and we tell ourselves that we'll be happy once we've achieved that A+. And once we've gotten to med school, we can finally say we've made it. Or maybe once we get to clinicals, once we're in residency, once people call us doctor, once we're done with residency, we can be attendings, then we can finally be happy, right? We can finally know we made it, that we're enough. Once we have kids, once we pass boards, once we finally have a nice house, or after that, maybe once we switch our jobs to being a laborist, or maybe once we take less call, once we pay off our loans, once we're the chair of the department, then we can finally be happy, right? Once we do GYN only, once we retire, then we'll be happy, right? I know that so many of us do this, and this is definitely something I have done my entire life. And I know many of you probably have done some of this, and we just strive for more and more and more, trying to get to that next thing, get to that next big step. We know we'll be happy then, or we can rest then, right? We'll have more time then. Life will be better then. We think that by reaching the next achievement, we will be more enough than we were previously. And we aren't happy because we haven't done enough. That's why we aren't happy right now. We just haven't done enough. We have to do more and be more to be happy. So essentially what we have done, unintentionally, of course, is trained our brains to think that we aren't good enough as is. We aren't good enough right now. And this is often referred to as arrival fallacy. This is where we focus on future goals and strive to reach that goal, thinking that it will make us more happy, right? Does that sound familiar? Because here's what happens. Whenever we focus on that future goal, it triggers the reward centers of our brain. That feeling of accomplishment makes us feel good. We get a dopamine hit. And so what we have done as very high achieving people, we have tied our day-to-day identity to this feeling of accomplishment. We have tied our self-worth to our achievements. So what I mean by that is that for us to feel good about ourselves, we have to achieve more, right? That's kind of the fallacy that we get into. We have to achieve more to be happy. We have to strive for more. And we eventually do this so much that actually achieving the goal doesn't bring us much happiness at all. Like maybe we celebrate graduating from residency for a night, but that happiness that we thought we would find on the other side is elusive, okay? Or it seems that it is, right? So what happens also is that when we tie our self-worth to these achievements and the things that we're doing, we are constantly striving for more. So if we don't get that next achievement, or we're too slow in our own minds to get to that next achievement, we beat ourselves up. We call ourselves lazy. We're not doing enough. We're not doing well enough. And essentially, we're telling ourselves that the reason we're not happy right now is because we're just not good enough at this yet. So how this can show up is like this. we are working and say you get your monthly financials and it compares you to your other physicians and you begin to notice, well, I'm at the bottom. I'm not making as many RVUs as my partners. Or maybe you're even in the middle. But what typically happens is your brain likes to point out you're not the best. You're not on top. And so maybe it shows up for you like, well, I need to work harder so that I can make the most RVUs because obviously I'm not I'm not the best. I need to be more. I need to do more. And what I want to offer you is that it doesn't have to be that way. You do not have to achieve more RVUs or achieve more clinic patients or achieve more surgeries to become more. You also do not have to join more committees, get a department chair position. You do not have to, keep achieving and achieving and achieving because what happens is if you're not enjoying your day-to-day life, this achievement's definitely not going to bring you any happiness as well. You're not enjoying it on the way because you are beating yourself up. And then once you get there, it's not going to be that great. Have you guys ever done that? You think, oh, if I could just do X, Y, or Z. Of course you have. We use that every day to get through residency or med school. I can do anything for 6 weeks. That's what I used to tell myself. Like that was like a mantra in med school. You got to residency. It was I can do anything for 3 months. I can do anything. It'll be better once I'm out of here. Right. And what I want to point out though is that it might not get better because all you're doing is trying to chase that feel good feeling, that positive emotion that is tied to that level of achievement. However, once you get there, you've already achieved it. So that happiness doesn't just come like flooding in. This is not to say that chasing your goals is not something I want, is not something I want you to do. I want you to. Okay. But what we need to realize is that we often want to accomplish a goal because of how we think it will make us feel. And what I want you to know is this: you can feel that accomplishment and pride and happiness right now. You don't have to put it on hold until it's complete. You don't have to reach that next big step. You don't have to get a promotion or change your job or quit taking OB patients. You don't have to do any of that. You can find other ways to spark those feelings. You can feel the pride and the accomplishment every day. You can celebrate right where you are every day. You just have to find ways to train your brain to do that. And so, one of those ways is to write down 3 wins that you have every day. So, take a few minutes each day and ask yourself, what am I really proud of today? What am I proud of for myself today? Where are the wins? What 3 wins did I have? And maybe they're little, okay? Maybe it is like, hey, I kicked ass in clinic and I got home by dinner time. That's a huge win for me. So if that's your little win, I think you're doing well. Maybe it's even smaller. Maybe it's, hey, we made it out the door in one piece after all of us slept in this morning. Okay, I want you to start celebrating the little wins you can find because you can find them. And what this does is trains your brain to look for those little things and generates that feeling of pride right now without you having to wait until you get to the next big step or the next big achievement or next big thing. Another way I want you to consider is that a way to plan your week can help you out and help you train your brain in this way. And so, what I want to explain is kind of hard to explain via podcast, but this is something that I teach my clients. And this is a process for how to kind of organize your brain, organize your life. And what this does is essentially trains your brain to feel a sense of accomplishment every day with your simple tasks that you are already doing, most likely. But it trains your brain to feel accomplished and proud and happy with doing those tasks, and kind of gives you that little checkbox achievement dopamine hit that so many of us like. And so this is a process that I teach my clients. And so what it is that it's a system where I want you to either get a bullet journal or a piece of paper or get your Google task list out. And what you do is at the beginning of your week, or right before you start your week, I want you to sit down for 15 to 30 minutes and write down all the things you need to do. Make a huge list, empty out your brain, get all of the things out, make a huge list. So that could be like things around the house that you need to do, things you need to do at work, upcoming appointments that you have, or appointments for the kids or the dog, bills you need to pay, just all of the things that are floating around in your brain. And then what I want you to do is take this list and then go to your calendar. And your calendar can be a digital calendar or it can be a paper calendar. I love both. Right now, I'm using just whenever I do this, I use my Google Task List and my Google Calendar. That way, I always have it in my phone. And so if someone asks me, question if I can do something, I've got it right there. But I also love paper. I am a serial calendar or planner hoarder. I'm recovering from that. I don't know if you guys have thought that before. If I just had the perfect calendar, oh no. So really, don't overcomplicate this. You really just need basic. Okay. So I'm trying to keep it easy. I'm using the Google stuff. Okay. So what I do after I've made this big list of all the things floating around in my brain that I need to do, I will sit down and I will look at the week's layout. And so what I will do is I will plug in all the things that I know I have to do, right? Like clinic, 8 a.m. to, 5 p.m. I'll block that off on each day. And so I like the Google Calendar because it allows you to do it in like for 15-minute increments. So if you have a paper calendar, just make sure that it has like at least like 30-minute increments or hourly increments that you can block off time. And so what I will do is I'll put all the things that I know I'm going to do as part of my daily routine, like clinic, surgery, that kind of stuff. Okay. If you have like a weekly standing appointment, put it on there. If you have to pick up your kids, put it on there. Stuff that's like non negotiable that is part of your routine, fill in your calendar with that. And then I like to reference my to-do list and start looking for little gaps throughout the week where I can plug these things in. And so things that I prioritize first are obviously things that are time sensitive, like, pay the electric bill, take the kids to their well child check, things that are already scheduled, like things that I have to do this week. And so I'll put those all in there. And then I will look at the things that I need to do that aren't necessarily time sensitive. Like nothing bad is going to happen if I don't, vacuum the living room, but I'd like to get that done in the next few days. So then I'll look for a time to put that on there. And so, so this is kind of the process. You then go to these things that you want to prioritize. So it doesn't have to be vacuuming the living room though. So whatever you need to prioritize this week, and they can be anything, things that you need to do around the house, also things to take care of yourself. So I want to encourage you to prioritize those types of things as well. And I want those to be on your list as well. So things that are always on my list are things like meditating, journaling, reading a good book, having coffee with a friend. You can put exercise on there. I want you to make these a part of your to-do list that are just as important as paying your electric bill, because they are. If you ignore both, you will have negative consequences. Okay. My negative consequence was I was burned the heck out. Okay. You have to prioritize yourself. And so right now, your brain may be kind of like arguing with that a little bit that, yeah, but I don't have time for that, or I can't find time, or I can't make time. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay. What I want you to know is that you can if you plan far enough in advance. Okay. So typically what I will do is I will make sure I have a good mix of things that I need to do in my life to like keep the house running and to, make sure I have electricity. And then things that I need to do to take care of me. And so this method is how you find the time to focus on yourself. So many of us feel like we don't have time and we can't make time for these things. But if you planned yourself an hour next Saturday to do something, do you think that you could possibly find someone to watch the kids if you planned it that far in advance? So what I'm trying to like get your brain thinking is that whenever you plan it in advance, it allows you to find the solutions to all these things that we think are impossible. So if we ask ourselves, how can I make time for me? instead of telling myself, I don't have enough time, then we open our brain to thinking about new possibilities. So if I ask myself, is there any way I could find an hour next Saturday to do something that I am prioritizing? If I asked you if you could find an hour next Saturday to pay your electric bill, you'd probably be like, oh, yeah, no problem. I can do that. Even if it was something more involved than the electric bill, you'd make time, right? So if you prioritize yourself just as much as the electric bill, why can't you find the time for that? You can. You just have to kind of argue with your brain a little bit. Sometimes our brains want to tell us that we can't, but we have to start asking, how can I make the time for me? How can I find that hour? So, like I said, my process is I sit down Sunday evening or Monday first thing, I fill in my calendar with all the things I have to do, and then I get out my to-do list and I start plugging in some of the tasks where there's open space. And if you don't know how long the task might take, say you don't know how long it'll take to bathe the dog, just guess. Okay, do your best, estimate, but be realistic about it. So if I put 15 minutes down to wash the dog, it's probably not very realistic for my golden doodle mini because she's huge. But for my little pug Max, I probably could get that done in 15 minutes. But I want to be realistic with the time. I don't want to, make myself feel worse by saying, oh, it's only gonna take me 5 minutes. I'm going to just do it real quick. And then it takes me 35. And that just leaves you open to beating yourself up for running behind, that kind of thing. We don't want to go into that kind of drama. That's not why we're doing this. So be realistic. The other thing is that whenever it comes time to bathe the dog, if it's on your calendar, you need to bathe the dog. This is super important because your brain won't want to bathe the dog and you won't want to do it. You won't want to get up and go and deal with that because you're going to find a million other things you'd rather do. And this is the important part. You need to do it anyway. You go ahead and do it anyway. And what this does is it builds the relationship with yourself and it begins to give you a sense of self-confidence in getting things accomplished. And it helps you know that you can generate this feeling every day. It retrains or rewires your brain to know, oh, I don't really want to do that, but I know that I'm going to feel good once I get it done. So let me cross that off my list. This is how you start to become super productive, like blow your own mind productive. And I'm not saying like you need to be productive. I can just say that I can generate such a feeling of pride and productivity from doing my to-do list that I don't feel like I need to kick my own ass in clinic every day to add on where I'm seeing, 40 patients a day anymore. Like I used to consider that. Like maybe I should add more patients. Like, no, that wasn't the answer. I don't need to achieve more by earning more RVUs. Like I have enough money. It's fine. And we'll go into money later. But I wanted to do it for the achievement. It wasn't about the money. It was about like, I want to like do more, be more. Okay. I want to be good enough. I want to be the best. I will even put easy stuff on there, y'all. Okay. So on my to-do list, I no lie, like if I'm doing laundry, I've got 3 separate items for a load of laundry where I wash the clothes, I dry the clothes, and then I fold the clothes. Okay. Because I should definitely get to mark off 3 check boxes for doing laundry. My brain loves the check boxes. I'm sure some of you can relate. Some of you may be like less so on this fence, but that's okay. You don't have to love the check boxes. But seriously though, give yourself some easy ones to check off, okay? We also need to schedule in the downtime. And so like time to relax. If you know that you're not going to want to bathe the dog on Sunday night because you'll be tired and you want to relax, then schedule it for a different time. Be realistic here, y'all. So if I know I want to get something done like that, I'm going to try and put it in Saturday morning, Sunday morning, sometime that I know, okay, let me just knock this out and I'll be done. I can relax the rest of the weekend, that kind of thing. So schedule the downtime as you need it and predict when you will want it. Okay. I imagine you can probably predict, yeah, Sunday night, I'm going to want some quiet time or some downtime just to relax before the week. Okay. You can probably think of how you want to set up your schedule. Okay. And so if you want to take a long bath on the weekend, with a book and some candles, put it on there. And yeah, things are going to come up. There's going to be a plan that you make and it's not going to work out, or you're going to have obstacles. So I want you to try to start thinking about ways to anticipate the problems you might run into or the obstacles that you have, okay? So communicate with your partner ahead of time. Say, "Hey, tomorrow I'm planning on taking a really long bath. I'm going to take an hour-long bath and I'm going to read my book. I'm going to, have the candles. I'm doing it. So I need you to watch the kids, please." Okay, communicating that, coming up with ways to troubleshoot for all the things that are probably going to go wrong, because they will at some point. And but planning ahead of time, you can start to think of ways to solve those problems ahead of time as well. The other thing is that plan for the obstacles of not wanting to do those things. So even if it is something like, "Oh yeah, I plan to take a bath right now, but I'm like stuck on the couch with my phone and Netflix and these snacks. I don't want to get up. I'm relaxing. It's fine." That's stuff that like you're gonna like want to do, and your brain's gonna want you to not move because your brain likes to take the path of least resistance. You know that getting in the bath and reading your book and having the candles, you are gonna be like really relaxed after. You know you're gonna feel great. But just getting up and going and running the bath, like even sometimes that is like too much for your brain to really think of. Okay. Also, your brain is probably going to want to point out that you should maybe have some mom guilt in these situations, okay? And so what I want you to know is that this is all very normal. Your brain is going to want you to stay sucked into the couch with your phone, not get up. And then it's going to like give you lots of reasons why you shouldn't, like, layering on the mom guilt for you going and taking some time for yourself. So I want you to be prepared with a thought of maybe something like, "I'm a much better mom when I am de-stressed," or "I always feel so much better after I do this and I'm able to parent better." Something like that. Start practice thinking something that like, "No, no, brain, calm down. I'm a great mom." And great moms need time too. Okay. So just anticipate that your brain may be a little whiny about getting up off the couch. Okay. Your brain may not want you to go do all the things on your list. Your brain would much rather just chill and do nothing and scroll on your phone or eat the snacks or drink the wine, watch the Netflix, all the things. Okay. It likes all those dopamine hits, and you don't have to do very much to get those. So why would we get up and take a bath with a book and stuff? And so it's definitely not going to want to get up and watch the dog. But just remember, like, once you're done, you'll be so glad you did, and you can cross it off your list. And then you can kind of celebrate that to yourself. That's what starts rewiring your brain to know that you are doing enough right now, as is, with all the things you're already doing in life. It sounds kind of simple, but it really does work. So, the other thing that I want you to think about is that I want you to be mindful of your sleep. And so whenever you're putting to-dos on your calendar, please don't sacrifice your sleep to do that. Too often we do that. Too often we sacrifice sleep to get things done when in reality we do not have to. And being on call, that kind of thing, that's a little different. Of course, we're going to expect to possibly lose sleep those nights, but I don't want you to, lose sleep due to, "Oh, I got to do 6 loads of laundry tonight." Find time, schedule it out. And if you can't find time, if you literally have zero places on your schedule after you filled in these things to do some of the things that you need to do, that's when I suggest maybe considering other options like hiring it out. Is there a way that I could pay someone else who would love to have a job or love to have some money? Is there a way that I can pay them to do this thing that I absolutely have to get done, but don't have the time to accomplish? And so I want you to really be careful whenever you're looking at doing things that are going to cut into your sleep, because we definitely need all the sleep that we can get as OBGYNs. So this process is definitely a great way to start feeling that pride and that accomplishment right now without trying to achieve that next big thing, because you can feel all these amazing feelings right now without beating ourselves up to make more RVUs or to get a promotion or to do 100 robot cases or whatever it is, okay? Because this process is helping our brains change our thoughts to focus on the present. It is training our brains, it's rewiring them to know that we are doing enough already as is every day. We don't have to strive for that next big thing to finally feel happy because it's just a fallacy. Like we talked about, arrival fallacy, it never works. We can be happy right now. And once we're good at that, then of course, chase your goals, chase your dreams. I want you to do those things. I want you to reach for more if that's what you want, but don't chase them because you think that they contain some happiness that you don't have, or because you think you'll finally be enough once you reach them. So that's what we've got for this week. I'm so glad you guys joined me. Thanks again. Also, I'd love it if you would head on over to iTunes and leave me a review. This is so important so that I can begin to spread the word to all the other OBGYNs out there that this podcast actually exists and potentially help more of us that are really living this kind of unique, crazy, wonderful life that we live. And iTunes reviews apparently, helps with some algorithm out there in the tech world. So anyway, I would love it if you leave me a review. And as always, I'll see you next week. All right, bye. Thanks for joining me today on The Happy Gynecologist. If you have questions or comments, head on over to my website, coach-miles.com, or follow me on Instagram at CoachMilesMD. I'd also love it if you left me a review on iTunes. See you next week.